Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back or welcome to my podcast, Rewired to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am very excited to be jumping on the microphone with you all for episode number 179. If you missed my last episode, number 178, are you making things worse? I definitely encourage you to check out that episode if you have not already. If you are watching video or if you can hear me, you will be able to see that I am rolling downhill. So the room that I am in my house is an older house. And so the floors are a little bit crooked. And my partner just gave me this office chair, which I'm so grateful for. But because the wheels on it are a little more fresh than my old chair, they're very slippery, and so I have a hard time physically staying at my desk because I end up sliding, which is a little bit of a frustration, so I'm going to try to put a carpet or something under this chair so it stops rolling. But if you can hear that in the background, it's basically just me rolling around in my office trying to get back to my desk. I am nonetheless just really, really excited to be jumping on the microphone. I am recording today's episode a lot earlier than I typically would. Next week is going to be a very busy week for me. I am planning a youth mental health summit for my school district here. And so next Wednesday, I will be giving a keynote and really just the lead for this initiative. So it's going to take up a lot of my time and I want to avoid future stresses for myself. And so I had to ask myself, what are some things I can get out of the way now that are really important to me, but so I'm not stressing next week, so I can have as clear of a mind as possible. And of course, my podcast was number one. It's obviously something I care very much about. I refuse to miss uploading an episode, and I knew that I had some ideas up my sleeve that I wanted to talk about, and I was eager and excited to jump on here and talk about with you guys anyways. Today's episode is one that we all need to listen to. We need to listen to it with open ears and actually absorb what I'm saying. I am definitely not an expert in this category. However, through doing a ton of research, through my own personal experiences, and through listening to, I probably watched 7 to 10 videos yesterday on this subject. And the title of today's episode is Optimize This One Thing and Watch Your Whole Life Transform. That couldn't be more true. What is that thing, you might ask? Sleep. It's our sleep. It's so important that we prioritize and understand why our sleep is so important. So as we dive into today's episode, I want you to kind of just reflect for yourself. When you wake up in the morning, how do you typically feel? Do you feel energized and ready to go, ready to tackle the day, eager, excited? Or do you feel like you're feeling sluggish, you feel groggy, maybe you feel grumpy? What's interesting in doing research for this episode is that the CDC reports that 1 in 3 adults actually get the recommended 7 or more hours of sleep a night. There's only 1/3 of us that are actually sleeping the amount that we should be. The main reasons why this is, that they found of why adults are not sleeping, is trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep. Who would have thought, right? Obviously, I can't cover all the factors that lead into that. Today, I really want to talk about the phases of sleep that we have and why they're so important that we optimize our sleep as best as possible. And then I wrote down some ways that you can optimize your sleep. So improvements and things that you can do and implement in your life today to start to work towards having a better sleep routine and a better just relationship with sleep across the board, because it does so much for us, right? When we typically think about our health, we think about our physical health. In the newer years, we start to think about our mental health, but rarely do we recognize how significant sleep is and how much sleep actually plays a huge factor in both of those. When our mental health is suffering, our sleep often suffers, which then makes our mental health worse. And it's the same with our physical health. They are very interchangeably connected. And I think that when we don't recognize why something's important or why it's beneficial to prioritize it, we likely won't. And I never really used to care or prioritize my sleep. But as I've gotten older and I start to notice patterns of when I get really good sleep, and I like to use my watch to kind of track my sleeping patterns, I notice such a difference in my mood, in my energy, in my productivity, in my body, in my gut health, in just everything across the board. And so it led me to be very curious about, well, why is sleep so important? And I think that it's important to recognize why sleep is important because it's so much more than just falling asleep and waking up. So much happens when we're asleep that cannot happen when we're awake. And I do just want to narrow out and say, if you have any kind of health concerns going on or insomnia or anything like that, I'm speaking just to the general public of why sleep is so important. Obviously, if you have something to do with your health that is hindering your ability to get a good night's sleep, I definitely encourage you to work with your physician or whoever it is that you're working with so you can work on maximizing a way to maximize your sleep. And the reason that I think even that is so important and why there's so much research and stuff out there is because it's been proven that sleep is the foundation for a good, healthy mind and body. I remember when I was in college and I would cram to do an exam and I would be up super, super late. I would do so poorly on the exam the later that I stayed up, even though I was studying more, because my brain didn't have time to absorb and process and to rest. And I began to realize as I've gotten older, how much more able I am to get things done and to be productive when I get a good night's sleep. There's nothing worse than when we wake up and we feel like we slept for 5 minutes. And so I want to talk about the different phases of sleep that we go into and why it's important we optimize so we can get into all these 4 cycles so that our body and mind can do what it needs to do when we're not consciously awake. And so as I mentioned, there's 4 phases of sleep. The first phase is referred to as the N1 phase. This is basically that phase of your sleep where you're kind of hazy, you're falling asleep, but you don't really know if you're awake or if you're asleep. You're kind of just dipping in, right? You're more easily waking up at this time. You're kind of just slowly, it's like when you're watching TV and you close your eyes once and then you kind of close them again and close them again. It's that phase. And this can last anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes. We then shift in very quickly into our N2 phase. This is when your brain activity begins to slow down, along with your heart rate, along with your respiratory rate. This is when everything kind of just starts to woosah and calm down and get ready for a good night's sleep. And this can last anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. We then move into our N3 phase, and this is also known as our deep sleep. This is when the brain's activity has, if you've ever heard of delta waves, this is basically when this is the period of time in which delta waves are the most active. And when delta waves are active, that's when we're able to process things from the day before. That's when our memory is able to digest certain things. This is when our body releases growth hormones to repair muscle tissues. This is really, what else did I read? Something to do with our bone structure also at this time. So these are things that simply cannot happen when we're awake, when we're in deep sleep, because there's a part of our brain that gets triggered in those moments that can't happen when we're awake. We then move into N4 phase, and you've probably heard of this phase before, often referred to as REM sleep or rapid eye movement. It is during this phase that your brain is the most active. As it indicates in the saying, in the title, your eyes are moving rapidly in your brain, side to side, going back and forth and processing. This is almost like your brain is almost as active in this state as when you are awake. And they recommend that we get anywhere from 2 to 3 hours of REM sleep a night. There's actually evidence that says that REM sleep can lead to insightful thinking, creativity, and memory. I've been having some wicked, crazy, vivid dreams lately, and when I look at the stats on my Fitbit, I can see that I've been spending more time in that REM sleep, which is pretty interesting to think about. This is the stage of sleep when we have the most vivid dreams. So as I just mentioned, this is when also, because we get into that deep sleep and our brain is processing things that have happened the day before, we can sometimes have dreams that represent things going on in our life, but in a different dialogue. There can be hidden messages within it. And I did a little bit of research on our dreams, and I knew that it's something I didn't specifically want to talk about because there's no clear evidence that backs up what our dreams actually represent or what they mean. There's no full proof to back them up, basically. But there is evidence that can show that when we're in that deep sleep and when we're processing things that have happened the day before, when we get into that REM sleep and we go into those vivid dreams, it's almost like our brain is playing out a dialogue or a story of stuff that we have going on in our life, and it helps us to process things that we're maybe not processing consciously when we're awake. So what's interesting about these phases is we don't just go through them once. We kind of repeat through all 4 of them in 90-minute increments, and depending how long you're sleepy, you can actually cycle through this 5 to 6 times in a night, which made so much sense to me when I was reflecting, and I'm like, oh, is that why we have like different dreams that have nothing to do with each other? That's because as you're cycling through the stages at different times, your brain is processing different things, and so that's why our dreams don't always have one specific meaning, or why we can have different ones, is because we're constantly going through these phases. And I remember looking at my watch and being like, it would say time awake, and I'm like, I don't remember being awake, but it's just because this cycle was restarting, and so I'm not in as deep of a sleep. And those would typically be the times when you would randomly wake up and you're like, oh, well, I better go to the bathroom, or oh, I need a glass of water, or I'm hot, I'm cold, whatever. It's because your body's coming out of that deeper sleep. And so, as you can see, sleep is really designed specifically, and it's designed to set you up for success and to help your bones, your muscles, your brain, your immune system, everything repair all the amazing and beautiful things that it does for us when we're awake. And so I wanted to write down some ways to optimize your sleep. But again, I just want to highlight, if you have any kind of health concerns or issues hindering your ability to get a good night's sleep, please contact somebody. Contact your doctor, contact a physician, because if you're not sleeping well, there's likely a reason. Maybe it's your diet, maybe it's your stress, maybe there's something going on. And so it's really important that you prioritize getting to the bottom of that, because it's likely that if you're not investing good time in sleep, you're gonna reap the negative sides and benefits or negative consequences of that in the days that follow. Okay, so the first way that I wrote down to optimize your sleep is to create a routine. The biggest thing my mom iterated to us as children is you need a sleep routine. Our bodies work in circadian rhythms. We have a depletion in energy between the hours of 2 and 4 in the AM and the PM. Our body likes routine. It likes predictability. It has that internal clock designed for us. And we throw that out of whack by going to bed at different times, waking up at different times, doing different things. Our brain and our body likes to have some kind of routine. The more that you can optimize a routine, you're also then sending cues to your brain of, okay, it's time to start slowing down for the night. It's time to start producing some melatonin. It's time to start to slow down my internal temperature, slow down my heart rate. But when we have no predictability of when we're going to bed and our body doesn't know what to expect, it's almost like, do I stand up? Do I sit down? Do I stand up? Do I sit down? No, I don't really know what to do. I'm just gonna wait. And then we're hindering the progress that our body naturally needs to get into that state, which is often when we get into bed and we toss and we turn and we're like, I can't sleep and I'm so frustrated. And then it makes it worse, because when we get in bed and we can't sleep and we're conscious that we can't sleep, we then definitely can't sleep, because then we're thinking. And so it's really important that you try to optimize some kind of routine for yourself. This is going to be different for each and every one of us, but I cannot stress enough the importance of having some kind of a bedtime routine. This one you've all heard. You've heard it in one ear, out the other. You're tired of hearing it. It's in your face, but it's very true. Limit your screen time before bed. If worst case scenario, you have some kind of blue light glasses, you lower the brightness, you do something, just try to limit your exposure to lights before bed. Lights interfere with our body's natural functions of producing melatonin, meaning we have a harder time shifting into that sleep state when we're constantly on our phones. I know this is one that we all hear all the time, and our favorite way to relax is to watch TV or to watch TikTok or to go on our phones. It's not the best thing that we can do before bed. And I know you've heard that 1,000,001 times. Try to just maybe 20 minutes before bed go off your phone. And secondly, I didn't write this one down, but it's super important. Try not to have your phone in your bed. Don't, even beside your nightstand is too close. I encourage you to have it out in the hallway if possible, or on a dresser on the other side of your room. I used to fall asleep with my phone in my bed, and I would notice chronic migraines and such up and downs in my sleep. There is so much research and science that backs this up that I do not have the credibility to talk about. I would definitely encourage you to do deeper research, but there is so much research out there that says that our phones being close to us at night interfere with our natural delta waves and our circadian rhythm. And so I encourage you, get it out. You don't need on it at night, right? You're supposed to be sleeping anyways. Get into those deep dreams and dream about someplace better than being on TikTok. Okay, you guys are gonna hate me for this one because I love a late night snack too. Try to avoid eating caffeine and alcohol before bed. Again, when this happens, we're spiking our blood sugar, we're restarting all of our systems. Our systems get into this way of like setting up and like getting ready for bed and getting all cozy inside, and then we eat something or we drink something or we have alcohol and we're spiking it and we're throwing off everything going on internally. Listen, I also like, again, there's nothing I love more than having some crackers and cheese late at night. It is my favorite thing in the world. Try not to eat in a 2-hour window before going to sleep. You will just thank yourself so much more. I promise you. I don't say these things because they're fun. Trust me, a lot of these things suck. But our sleep is also so important, and these are things that have been shown to interfere with having a good night's sleep. Number 4, and this one's like, yeah, obviously, but it's manage your stress. When the 2 things that they said of why we can't sleep is because we can't fall asleep, we can't stay asleep. That's because our mind is racing 1,000,000 miles a minute. It is really hard to shift into a calm state when we are worried about everything under the sun that we have to do tomorrow, and everything that went wrong today, and everything you said wrong, and everything you did wrong, and thinking about this person and that person. Manage your stress. I wish it was that easy, right? But some things that can help. Do a journal dump before you go to sleep. Write down everything that is on your mind. If it's like, even if you're trying to sleep and you find you can't and your brain is just going, get out of bed and go and journal and do a dump and get it out of your brain. One of the worst things we can do when we can't sleep is to lay there and be aware that we can't sleep, because our brain then starts to associate our bed with a place to reminisce. When we get up and we break that cycle and we identify that place as a place to sleep, we're able to rewire that for ourselves. But some things you can do to manage your stress is to color, to read, to do something mindfully that is mindless before you go to sleep, to just allow your brain to relax a little bit. Number 5, declutter your bedroom. The best thing that I have ever done is optimize my bedroom. I actually went to bed last night. I had my Christmas lights on above my bed, and I looked around and I'm like, I love my room so much. I walk in, it feels peaceful, it feels calm, it feels clean, it smells good. Got those essential oils pumping. Everything's in its place. It's not cluttered. And it just makes me sleep so much better. And so declutter. Allow so it can be dark in there at night. A cool temperature. You don't want your room 1,000,000 degrees. Our body has to drop down a couple of temperatures for us to fall asleep. And it's a lot harder to do that when we're in a hot room. Think about a hot summer's night when you're trying to sleep and you're just like, nope, not a chance. That's because temperature plays a huge role in our ability to sleep. And so those are just a couple tips and tricks. Make your room a place you want to be, and a place that is calming and that instantly shifts you into a state of just, I'm home. And I know that can be easier said than done for some of us, and I'm so grateful and blessed to have a room that I love. Try to do anything that you can to just make it a sacred place for you. Number 6, exercising during the day can help you sleep so much better at night. I definitely notice a difference in the days that I work out in the day and my ability to sleep at night. Again, I do not have the science to back this up. It exists, it is true, and I also know it's true because I can feel it every time that I do it. There's days that I don't exercise and I'm wired before bed, and not in like a good way. My brain is wired. I think it's just because it's a really good de-stressor. It tires us out. It makes our muscles more relaxed when we go to sleep. And we just feel good. We feel good when we work out. Not that that's backed up by science in any way, shape, or form, but exercising during the day, proven right here, right now, can help you fall asleep. Okay, a hot bath or shower 90 minutes before bed also has been proven to help you fall asleep easier. There is nothing I love more at the end of the day than to take a hot bath. I know some people find it gross, some people find it weird, some people find it icky. That is my happy place. When I'm in the bath, oh my God, there's nothing that can bother me. I love to laugh in the bath. I love to cry in the bath. I love to turn on Netflix in the bath. I love to read in the bath. Sometimes I even eat snacks when I'm in the bath. And it's like, I don't care. That's my happy place and I love it. And I always sleep so much better after I have a hot Epsom salt bath, get on my jammies, get in bed. I'm out. Peace. I'm sleeping. Try to optimize for getting a shower or bath before bed. And then that way you're clean when you're getting into your bed, which is just so much better. Okay, the last thing is a comfy bed, pillow, and blanket. You spend half of your life sleeping. For the love of God, invest in a bed and in a pillow and in a blanket that is comfy and optimizes your sleep. I know, again, beds are expensive, pillows are expensive, those things are expensive, I get it. But is there a way that you can save money elsewhere to save up, to get a good mattress, to get a good pillow? It makes such a difference. I know when I get in my bed and I'm just like, oh, this is so comfy and great, versus I'll get in another bed and I'm like, there's not a chance I'm falling asleep. Optimize your space. It's worth it. It's an investment in yourself. It's not a waste of money if that's gonna help you fall asleep, which is gonna help your body, which is gonna help you the next day, which is inevitably gonna make you more profitable and beneficial in the long run. So those are my ways to optimize your sleep. I'm sure you have some of your own as well that are helpful for you. But I hope you guys enjoyed just learning a little bit more about sleep. And maybe just, if you didn't learn anything, maybe you knew all this, just a reminder of how important it is that we're mindful and we focus on our sleep. It sounds so blah, but it really is so important, and it makes such a difference in our quality of life, in our mental health, and in our physical health. And so if you guys enjoyed today's episode, it would mean the world to me if you guys could share this episode, if you could leave a review, if you could rate this show, anything at all to help spread the word. This podcast is meant to support people on their mental health journeys and to just spread awareness and education about all things mental health, self-love, inner child, blah, 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 all the great things. And so all the love to you guys. I am so excited. Happy November, and I will chat with you all on Thursday. Bye, you guys.